Hey everyone, this is Mark from Avalaunch, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Tamago from the Crabada team. Crabada is the next Avalaunch IDO. They're doing part of their sale with us and part of their sale through their platform. And we're really excited to have Tamago on to kind of go over the game and the vision and Avalanche and just talk about conceptually what they're up to and I think why it's important. And so Tamago is the head of partnerships and community. I want to thank you for joining us. And if you could just give us a little bit about yourself, and then we can kind of get into the rest of the team and the platform and the game.
Yep, sure. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me on. So I myself am Demago. So I lead the head of the partnerships and communities here at Crabada. So before crypto, I majored in psychology and business law, so completely unrelated. But yeah, I think us as a team, we came together because of our love for gaming and also blockchain.
Right on. Cool. And so what about the rest of the team? I think one of the things that's always just really useful in getting a complete picture of a project or a game is learning about like how the team kind of got to this point. So I'm wondering if you could tell us, obviously while maintaining the anonymity that you guys have, who you guys are, how you got here, before crypto, and then coming together to decide to build this game.
Yep, for sure. So the team brings together a wealth of experience across both crypto and traditional industries. So we have members bringing experiences from working at crypto startups and blue chip crypto names such as Binance. So the genesis of our team and this project stems from our shared passion for playing games, with many of us having been avid gamers in our formative years. So we played games like, Hearthstone and Dota. So these experiences imparted to us a love for gaming that stayed with us even as we all grew up and started our careers and later got involved in the crypto space. So from this background, Krabada came about due to our desire to marry our passion for gaming with our strong conviction in the future of blockchain. So this led us coming up with an idea for a game that will run on blockchain and
Mhm.
enable players such as you and I to not only enjoy an engaging game experience, but also have the opportunity to own a piece of the community that they will play a part in building.
Right, right. Interesting. Yeah, the blockchain in gaming is something that has always been even in years past synonymous, while never really seeing a ton of adoption in the way that I think we all hope it will. And I think that's really starting to happen now with stronger technologies that can support these kind of games. And I'm curious, as a game developer, what are like the innovations happening in blockchain gaming right now? And like, where did we start in the industry, and where do you think we're going?
I think we think that there are many interesting things happening in blockchain, gaming especially across various use cases. So, for example, for card games, verifiable scarcity is big, since for those games, the powerful rare cards are usually impactful and hard to obtain. Players want to ensure that what they are buying is actually scarce. So, with regards to blockchain gaming, we think it's highly likely there will be a convergence of traditional games and crypto native games, and we want to be there leading the charge.
Right.
So, also in recent news, Facebook recently rebranded to Meta, and Ubisoft hinted about being a future player in the play to earn space. So, I think in general, it's a really good time to be in the space we're at, and it's very positive.
Yeah. Yeah, the play to earn, play and earn, category of game, I think, is something that's quite potent, and I think
Mm.
it's easy to miss the point on that. And we'll talk a little bit about it later, I think, but it is so much more than just, hey, you can make money. I really do think it has the potential to empower people, communities, and give people a better life, quite frankly, which is always been the promise of crypto. And I think it's really cool to see this start to intersect with gaming. And when we're talking about gaming on the blockchain, versus more traditional mediums, what are, in your opinions, like possible? What does blockchain make possible in gaming that it isn't possible with, say, PC or console gaming? Why are you guys, you're a very talented team with a big vision? Why are you focusing it here in blockchain on Avalaunch?
So, I guess to start off, we don't think that there is anything wrong with gaming as it is now. I mean, it's been like this for years, and it's been working out really well. So, but by using blockchain for games, it allows us to explore new models like play and earn, play to earn, just because of how tightly knit you can weave the game and financial layer. So game assets could easily transform into financial assets, and it opens up a new modes of play that's sustainable for game makers and game players. So it opens up a lot of possibilities that is just not viable before blockchain. So I think for our particular vertical, one of the opportunities to innovate is around business models. It's a chance to escape the traditional pay to win model, which is based around players paying to progress. So this results in game power creep and constrains the path of the game development team. So forcing them to release stronger and stronger game items with each update to continually force users to spend and keep up with the game. So as a business model, it has high churn and it really isn't fun for players in the long run. So instead, play and earn can use friction to encourage trading activity and give users interesting problems to solve via interacting with the game economy. So at the end of the day, we want to focus on creating a fun game experience that players will enjoy and ultimately find value in participating in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I do want to cover the play to earn, play and earn component of this now. I think it makes sense to. So Crabada describes itself as a play and earn game, distinct from play to earn. And I want to talk about that distinction and what it means, and also an idle game. And I also want to go into what this category of gaming is about. So could you tell us why the play and earn and idle concepts are important from both a gaming perspective, but also a social kind of good perspective as well?
Yep, for sure. So I think Crabada chose the term play and earn instead of play to earn to further embody our vision of Crabada to allow users to have a gaming experience first and a crypto experience second. So I think with the large number of projects coming out onto the market, it's all play to earn. And people are sort of putting the gaming aspect of it on the backseat, which is what we don't want to do. So we truly believe that in order for a game to succeed, the community has to be at the heart of the game. So this is especially important when it comes to a blockchain game, where without a community of avid gamers, the project will only attract pump and dumpers, people who are in for a quick flip, looking for quick gains, which will not be sustainable in the long run. So for the part of idle concept, this also stems from the fact that Crabada is designed so that anyone can play and enjoy the game at any time without being forced to invest an inordinate amount of time to learn and subsequently enjoy. So this is a problem that we see in the market right now, where a lot of the play to earn games require a large amount of time and effort. So the team feels like it's very time consuming and it's very sort of grindy, right? So this creates a barrier of entry for users who are keen on playing the game, but have time constraints such as schooling or, having a full-time job. So by designing Crabada in an idle manner, users are given the chance to experience and enjoy the game without having to commit long hours. So Crabada seeks to welcome people from all walks of life, even those who are not, full-time into crypto, but are interested in playing an enjoyable game with the added potential of monetizing their effort. So with Crabada's idle style of gameplay, whether it's work, school, or playing other games at the same time, Crabada is a one-size-fits-all GameFi project for an enjoyable experience for anyone.
Right on. Yeah, that makes sense. And from what I understand about your guys' project and the vision, it's one of the things that's important to you guys is bringing in people outside of crypto, and that extends to not just having more users, but also figuring out ways to onboard people that aren't so familiar with crypto easier, and in some senses kind of abstract the blockchain stuff into the background, which I think is not only cool but also really important when you're talking about exposing people outside of crypto to the potential of these kinds of games. And there's a lot of like unique mechanisms and play styles, I think, in Crabada, all of which tie into a really thoughtful economy around creating players and earning, so it's not just about, slot machine, ching, 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 you're earning. There's a real economy here that makes sense and is sustainable, that also leads into fun gameplay, right? And so I'm curious how you guys went about designing the economy, the systems, and how do they ultimately serve the vision of the game and what you guys want to build?
Yep. So I think for us, we think at a high level what we would want as players. So we think that it's more about the community/nation building instead of systems building. So by focusing on communities, we asked ourselves what would be enjoyable and how we can make it as inclusive as possible. So for example, this is our thoughts on the factions for Crabada, right? First of all, every crab has a faction that it belongs to. And when the player owns a crab, there may be some type of emotional connection to the faction indirectly through the crab. So this will then lead to players having a certain bias towards a certain factions. So then this can stem from various reasons, such as, the amount of crabs this player owns in that specific faction, the law of the faction, or even just purely how the artwork of the faction is. So, however, because we designed these systems heavily around the community, there's no doubt an element of trial and error is there. So that is something that we need to experiment. Not too sure if you're familiar, but for example, in World of Warcraft, Alliance and Horde players couldn't talk to each other. It would just appear as gibberish to the other player. But in the end, they removed the feature. So it's really up to the players' responses, but we are really eager to experiment it, right? So because of how community focused we are, we sort of design the mechanics and the systems around them.
Yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense. And I really appreciate how the gameplay and the game actually reflects community instead of it just being like a buzzword, right? Because the word community is really easy to throw around, and it sounds good, but if there's nothing there to support it, it's just kind of a waste of everyone's time. So I like I like the collaborative effort, the efforts involved in this game. I like the looting and things like that require people to work together and and earn together. And I think it's going to make this game really resilient and strong. And so when we're talking about community, people working together, there's also this NFT component of the game, right? Which we haven't really covered yet. And so there's a lot going on. And it's this is kind of at least in the context of this conversation, sort of hidden, and I think it's quite big. And so you have what sounds like a very cool play and earn idle game with kind of a philosophy involved, but there's also this NFT component, which then expands the game across all of the things and market dynamics we know about NFTs. And so what I'm wondering is, what is the intersection here of the NFT community and gameplay experience? It's really at the core of this. So how do you expect these things coming together to drive the project forward and ultimately be big and successful?
Yep. So I think we think that it is a priority to create a fun game experience while also being sustainable. So that's where the NFT component comes in, right? Because with the recent NFT boom, by including NFT, it will sort of add some sort of financial value to the game. So we want to make a game that can stand the test of time. When players start playing, they're investing their time and capital into it. So the reassurance we want to provide is that we are committed to developing not only a fun game, but also one that is based on sustainable economics such as NFTs. So we think it's a great experience to play a game and grow with it and get rewarded as well. It feels nice to make longer term decisions instead of short term trade-offs, like flipping NFTs. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And so you have the NFT component, the different styles of play. What are the kind of innovations, and this can cover anything, sort of from the gameplay to the technology that you think are relevant here, that are either present today, or that the team is kind of chasing down for the future.
Yep. So I think building by saying that building gaming with a blockchain layer is still very, very new, and it's
Mhm.
a interesting problem, right? So there's not really a textbook guide to how to build
Right.
a GameFi project, right? So while we can come in with our hypotheses and models, we are prepared for iterations and experiments alongside our players. So the biggest challenge that we need to address as a play and earn game is creating an economy that does not overly rely on user acquisition coming in to support it. So we've talked extensively with other crypto game founders such as Ethermon, as well as game economists like Rise. So shout out to Rise to concoct our own solutions for V1 implementations. Along the way, with help from our friends, the community, we've spent countless hours refining our own thesis to craft a sustainable economy. But still, most importantly, a game world that draws in and engage players and sort of make players stay, right?
Yeah.
So aside from the game itself, we will launch a zero fees gaming blockchain further down the road. Is initially for our own use and later extend it to other games. So we think that a persistent game identity, like a player profile that can be brought across games on our gaming blockchain, is an area that we want to explore in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, one of the things that's always impressed me about you and your team, in our conversations about the project and our, research into what you guys were doing is it's really easy to look at Crabada and say, wow, this is like a great, fun game, right? But there's so much happening here in your team's ability to reason and think through the challenges around not just what's going to make this game better in the future, but ecosystems for gaming in general. And so there's a lot of very, very cool mechanisms happening within Crabada, the game itself. But developing games on blockchains is hard, and it requires some very, very high level thinking, not to just do it well, but to continue to iterate. And so the game teams today, I don't think, have the luxury of just being like, well, here's our neat game, go and play it. You have to be able to really build not just community, but an ecosystem for developers, and think through this stuff at a really high level. And so your talks with the Ethermon team and the Rise team, these other teams that are thinking about these things in the same way is really cool and really encouraging, because I think you need to have not just that spirit, but quite frankly that intelligence to be able to create something that's lasting and enduring. And so with the token, right? So we're doing an Avalaunch IDO. There's going to be tokens available to the community. There's you're doing something similar on your platform, and I want to talk about what people are acquiring, because there's two tokens here. There's and correct me if I'm wrong, sort of the currency token and the governance token. I'll let you talk about that more. But I want to understand their utility and the way these two tokens are both separate and in the ways they kind of act synergistically together.
Yep, for sure. So I think I'll start with our governance token. So our governance token is CRA, so CRA, has some innovative designs. So we see potential for it to accrue value from platform use via marketplace and lending fees in the future. So, but initially we won't be emitting rewards via staking immediately. So how CRA staking will be implemented initially is that it's planned as a membership model that makes playing Crabada more convenient and benefits player. So for example, increasing the maximum team size that a user can have, and also participating in lucky draws for rare Crabadas. So for TAS, Treasure Undersea is our in-game currency, and it's used in our native marketplace from the start. So players and collectors will be able to buy and sell Crabada using TAS, and subsequently in-game items and resources will be introduced as well, with many other exciting stuff. So, things like equipment, cosmetics, all that kind of good stuff will be, from TAS. So player need to buy TAS to make game transactions, and crowd will accrue value from a portion of trading fees.
Okay. The value accrual, the fee sharing is interesting. Yeah, I think that adds an element to a governance token that's quite unique and quite sticky, right? And so governance for a game is interesting. And I wanna hear more about, what can a user, a community member, a holder who has this governance token and wants to participate in governance and in the direction of the game, what parts of what you guys are building can they expect to influence and, and interact with? And so is it like, they get to choose the creatures, or does it actually extend to sort of the economy of the game and those types of decisions?
That's actually a really good idea, like for them to choose the next Crabada that comes out. Really thank you for that, Mark.
You got it.
But
I have to see it.
yeah, but we do plan for governance to come in a little later. So we think that this will be well suited for spending ecosystem funds primarily. So for example, supporting a program for community initiatives and grassroots or partnerships with guilds. So while PvP is still something down the road, so somewhere between around Q2 of 2022, we were quite inspired by Hearthstone's Fireside event format. So we think we want to do something similar down the road, localized competition formats that players can easily join and hang out with their local community over Crabada. So this would also include the classic, MMR ranking system that we are also very excited to implement.
Awesome. Very, very cool. All right. So we at some point, have to talk about Avalaunch, right? We're Avalaunch and we're supporters of this ecosystem, and, we're big believers in what's happening here. And so, we have, our two teams have a bit of history. We had been talking for a while before this came to pass, I would say. And I always like to cover, like for you guys, why Avalaunch? What attracted you here? What about this L1 makes possible what you guys are trying to do? And, ultimately, why did you decide to build it here?
Sure. The short answer, I would say community, but no, it's just the people, really. It's really the people. So the team decided to build Crabada in this community, firstly because of the overwhelming support. So when the project idea was first conceptualized, our team did extensive research on which ecosystem would be best to launch the game on. So we were quite blown away by how warm and welcoming the Avalaunch community is, in addition to its exciting energy, probably because, it was at a time when Avalaunch boomed. So especially
anything, that's right.
Yeah. So especially in helping the Crabada team understand the ecosystem and in connecting us with our current partners within Avalaunch. So hence the experience of talking to and working with the Avalaunch community was undoubtedly one of the critical factors that led us to making our decision. So another point is, in order for our game to be possible, transaction speed and gas fees were key points to be addressed. So we wanted to provide our players with the best on-chain gaming experience that we could, especially in our initial idle game phase, where we were going to be pretty reliant on on-chain transactions for game actions. And, Avalaunch solves this problem.
Yeah. And so you mentioned community, and this is something we've touched on a number of times here, and I don't think that's, an accident. It's something we talk about a lot. And just to give like only a brief insight into my experience, and again, this is something I try and talk about as much as I can, because Avalaunch is, we're a team, we're founders, we're working inside of a community, and we're helping other people do that too, at least around the time of their launch, right? And there is, in my experience, there's nothing like the Avalaunch community as a builder and a founder, in that when you start interacting with it, you start meeting people and like interacting with human beings. And, I think Ethereum has a lot of this too. I see a lot of parallels there, but not so much in other places. Like there's relationships, but I don't know like what those feel like. And so I think one of the things that's so special about Avalaunch, outside of the technology, is what it just feels like to build and be here, and interact and grow alongside other teams and collaborate. It's like it's the most fun part of this. And when you're building stuff in crypto, which is really hard and really stressful, and you never know what you're going to get day to day, it's so important to have those personal relationships because we essentially live online. Like this is our lives, right? So
Yes.
you have to have that person-to-person connection, or else, like, what do you have left? And so I want to just get your opinion on it a little bit more. I mean, I know you briefly spoke about it,
Yep.
but you guys said you were looking at other chains. You know, you're experienced crypto guys. You have I think a unique perspective. And so I'm curious, you know, what your impression of the community has been relative to other ecosystems. And it's not about shitting on other chains. You know, it's just, I think it's just a kind of important to draw out the differences.
Yep, I think you addressed it really, really well. You know, like you said, it's all about the personal touch. And I honestly feel like after the team did extensive research, right, we feel like Avalanche as a community has the most personal touch, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So the team has nothing short of praise for the Avalanche community. So the key project leaders and community members were all extremely responsive and willing to contribute any help necessary to aid us in Crabada's building process. So, you know, shout out to you guys at Avalaunch, Trader Joe, Ava Labs, Avex Holics, who helped and are still helping us find our footing in Avalanche. So it's not just about the community, like it's not just about the users and the members, but also, KOLs such as Sedanet of Avalanche. I think he's really, really loved by the community. So he was one of the first few, he was one of the first few guys that helped us in navigating through the ecosystem. So we would also strongly recommend any other project to really deep dive into Avalanche ecosystem and really not be afraid to talk to the community. So I think once they start that step, it's always a great experience to be building in a community with such a great energy.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity and it's a responsibility. And what I mean by that is I see a lot of projects, you know, because Avalanche is like popular now. It's hot, right? And you know, the technology and the community has been validated. There's a ton of money floating around the ecosystem, and you know, depending on who you are, but I do think it applies pretty broadly. Is there is a responsibility to engage the community here because everyone's like, you know, kind of like a family of sorts, and everyone's a known quantity. And so if someone's coming in from the outside, everyone expects them to sort of, you know, introduce themselves and make themselves known, you know, and it's like, and I do think that's a little different. I think that is something that's very unique to Avalanche, and I do appreciate. And so it's kind of hard to get away with, you know, unless you're, you know, already just humongous and you just, wherever you go brings value, right? You know, there is this responsibility to get to know everyone, and I don't know if it's good or bad or what. I just think it's kind of cool, and I certainly appreciate it. So yeah, so very cool. Props to the Avalanche community. We've definitely given them a lot of credit here. So let's go back to Crabada and the IDO and the sale on your platform and the roadmap. So you know, we're doing the sale here shortly. You know, you guys are doing your event. As someone that's participating in these and you know, looking to participate in the community and the game forward, what can we expect here in terms of playing the game, the roadmap, like right after the IDO and maybe a little beyond?
Yep. So I think right after the community bootstrap event, it will be followed by our special breeding event for IDO participants and early adopters. So where we reward them with the special opportunity to breed origin supply of crabs in Crabada. So for every one Crabada that you buy, we'll give you one breeding coin for free. So it's really a sort of giving back to the community kind of stance that we're taking. So after that, the next major milestone for us will be the launch of our idle game on the 15th of November, supported on web browsers. So once the launch has successfully stabilized, we plan to release support for mobile web browsers in order to allow our players to enjoy Crabada on their mobile devices. So we believe that this is important, given that the future lies in a decentralized world where people should be able to work and play anytime and anywhere. You know, from the whole COVID situation, people are working from home and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's where we see the future is at. So subsequent to the launching of our idle game, we will continually roll out more exciting events and features for our player base, such as mining zones, you know, mine faction resources. That will be a key part of our eventual battle game mode next year. So we are also preparing to introduce staking in a few weeks after the launch, which will allow our players to assess staking benefits and further support the development and growth of the community. So lastly, I think looking ahead to 2022, we are preparing for the launch of our cross-platform battle game mode sometime around March. So that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love, I love the timing of the rollout to the public and the way that you guys have structured it and the roadmap relative to it. I think it's the kind of the perfect combination of, ambitious goals with near-term deliverables that can get people actually engaged and excited in a way that feels complete, and then still continue to innovate and build great things. I can't say enough good things about the way that you guys are building community and developing. And so, I really appreciate your time here today. And I think we've covered a lot of good stuff. And I just want to, I think, end it with a big picture kind of question, right? And sometimes these are hard, but I think for a team like yours that really is thinking far out into the future, it's important. So what is, the end game for Crabada? And what I mean by that is, say in 2 years, the game has been hugely successful. You guys have executed the vision perfectly. What does the ecosystem that you've built, at least as far as you can tell today, sort of look like?
Yep. So I think first and foremost, obviously Crabada to the moon and staying on the moon for sure.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
yeah,
of course.
yeah. But seriously, I think at the present we have planned out our roadmap with a 1.5 year runway. We have already made plans to introduce more competitive features to the game, such as telecasted PvP tournaments, as well as social elements such as in-game guilds, claims, and teams. So while it is still early days, in the future, we plan to expand the Crabada universe by branching out to other genres as well. So things like tower defense, by allowing our crabs to be used in other games that cater to a wider variety of gamers. So we believe that there is vast potential in the future for zero-guess gaming and foresee the opportunity to bring over other on-chain games or even port over traditional games that are not on blockchain yet. So this is something that we are really very excited to work towards. And I think last but not least, while these are still early days, we see great value in the potential of creating a metaverse for the fans and players in our Crabada ecosystem. With the growing adoption of technology across every aspect of our lives, we hope that one day we will be able to provide members of our community with an ecosystem where people can potentially use their Crabada avatars to explore virtual, VR, AR worlds and interact with their friends, trade NFTs, probably grab a beer and, enjoy a multitude of services all from one single unified Crabada platform.
Wow, awesome. That was a great answer. And I think a great way to end it, and really demonstrates what, we like about this project so much, is that it is a really great game on the surface and fun and valuable, but there's a real ecosystem here of community and opportunities for people and games coming together around this stuff that's so powerful. And I love to see it being built here. I love to see it being received into the Avalaunch community, and you guys engaging and supporting that as well. So I'm super, super excited for what you guys are building. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on and support you through the platform. And yeah, thanks. This is just the beginning.
Yes, no problem. Thank you so much for having me, Mark. And really excited, and really excited, really thankful to work with you guys from the start and, and in the future as well.
Right on. Thanks, man.
Thank you.